call this meeting to order. We will start with a motion to accept the regular minutes of August 9th, 2021. Rebecca and Cindy, thank you. Any questions, comments, corrections? Cindy, you look like Rebecca, you look like you may have a...
No, I sent my name.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Minutes are accepted. I would like to point out that Mr. Rumsey is out on health issue, as is Mark Docker. So they should be back in 2 weeks. We're still doing health. I would like to open it for public comment. Shorty Hoffman, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I think the new LED lights, they're working great because they light up the street and up the sidewalk so you can see to safely walk at night, but it doesn't light up your backyard, so it interferes with stargazing and whatnot. So.
Terrific. Thank you for that feedback. I too have received a lot of positive comments about that. The lack of light pollution, but the clarity of being able to see.
Yeah, we went out in the backyard and had time to see if we count the satellites going over here.
Oh, wow.
Got the kids in the ball in the park. Emma's a great one for that. She's got down her phone and just she'll tell you when to come and over and everything.
Nice. Very good. Glad to hear it. Any other public comments? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Report of the DPW, Mr. Blanchard, how's things going?
Very well so far. Most of my things in the summer are all the same. Mowing weed, clean roadside, don't get a chance. Pave the road cuts, which I talked about that mentioned before. We're working on the roads that we're going to be paving. And hauling pressure when we get a chance. So work on all of those.
And I'm sorry, what were the 3 roads you're doing this time?
We're doing Old Mountain Drive. And Brookside.
Okay, great.
Shoulder work, garbage recyclables, always cutting brush, especially around signs. Every chance we get, we don't get a lot of time because we're doing garbage for 4 days a week pretty much. We're always checking dirt section on Lake Road. We're having a little bit of a deeper problem along level, but we took care of the side culvert. Right now it's running good, so we'll fill it back up.
Okay. Is there any prevention we can do on that?
I'm not sure. They have this thing where you can build rocks out there and put another smaller culvert through the rocks, and they usually just mess with that.
Okay.
I don't know if we'd be able to do that because that big stream has got 2 5-foot culverts side by side. So I don't know. We're going to experiment a little bit. But
Okay.
I have to wait this fall.
Yep. Okay.
Then we're patching potholes, and I added Rose Beach. Hopefully we can get far out like that.
Good.
Okay, and next month is pretty much the same stuff. Still working on the road, picking garbage, cutting grass, cleaning ditches, which Mark Crary,
Yes.
had me check the ditches on Shuttleworth Road. He said there's a 5 in one spot, so we're going to try to get to that this week. I just want to bring that up, it's not over today. And how many pressure run? Water department things that hydrant, I haven't done it yet. Thank Z-Ball for the time, not, and that's the next one. And the next 60 days is pretty much the same thing. Till summertime. Work on the cross-country bridge is a little bit different. Right now, we're having to get into the water. Yeah. And it's crazy. Usually, midsummer, there's no hardly any water there, we just can't do stuff like that. Nothing is right. So maybe we're still be able to do that, I'm not sure.
Okay, quick question about cross country. There was a meeting with DEC this last week. With DEC, Lime Timber, and we're looking to see what they can do as far as all-use trails, bike trails, etc. And there was a question as to whether we as a village might be able to extend and maintain some cross-country trails as we go into the tree.
Yeah, I'm sure we can extend it. It's a pretty good size trail, but These are the links doing that, so I don't think we have an issue with that any longer.
Okay, so I was just throwing that out there, so the better we can make it for visitors with those sorts of activities in addition to stormwater.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my check report, the 3 roads we just talked about, Old Mountain Drive, Western Pines, and Birds Avenue. We've been hauling in item 4, crusher run, more than item 4 really, which is pretty much the same stuff, but a little bit better stuff. And we've been hauling that into work on the roads. All of my culverts are ordered in stock right now, so we're all good there. We submitted the blower to the truck, I don't know if it's going to remember yet, but I have that submitted.
The blower is for the
Sale. Okay, and the paved road cuts. We had the county mill the bump by Charlie John, and then we milled the bump by the village garage. And then there was a road cut by Tony versus all 3 of them are on my road. We fixed all 3 of them. We fixed the road cut on Downey Avenue and one on Over Range, and we also fixed the shoulder up there where they dug the water by the pest to alter.
Okay.
And that's about it.
What the 3rd page?
Just my COVID stuff, okay, the NYMER stuff, everything has been done on that list, other than the class we have to take for digging, and the swings haven't come in there. There's a little bit of a mix up there, waiting for us to pay before they sent them. I called them, and they said you would send them out to pay after they know how that transfer works, so that is, they are coming.
Okay, would you send me an email saying that all the things in the NYMER report have been addressed so that I in turn can write them a letter?
Okay, I can do that. But other than that, that's it. The other things are the garbage roads you asked me about. I don't know if you want to know,
Sure.
and the culvert thing.
Okay, that's great. Good. So you and I should be trying to meet with Mr. Bloom tomorrow about the matter on Marion Avenue down by the culvert. So if you can give him a call, I was unable to get his phone number, but I know you can get in touch.
Yeah, I've got his card over there, so I'll call him in the morning.
Okay,
I'll wait till about 9, that one.
perfect. So we can do late morning or early afternoon. That would be great. And then I did receive, I think she's from the garden club, I haven't called back yet. But evidently there's a tree that may need to be removed in the park. Are you aware of that?
No,
Alright, so maybe tomorrow morning you can take a look and I will follow up with her.
all right.
And see if that's something we can do or if we would have to hire out. And is the cemetery being maintained? I know in the past we've had issues with trying to keep that weed whacked and.
Well, it just got no Friday. It hasn't been trimmed yet, but it was starting to get a little bit tall because of all the rain that we had. Right. We didn't get it all Friday, we're trying to clean tomorrow.
Terrific, right, because just out of respect, you want to keep that.
So, I like to keep that.
Yep, terrific. And we do have, is it our last music in the park this week? Or we've had our last? So this is our last music in the park. There have been good compliments as far as the way the park is looking, so thank you to the guys for that. Keep that up. And as far as the other element of the park that's near and dear to my heart, 15 geese were found in the park today. They were chased off, they were not removed yet, but our handy folks are on the case. There will be no goose removal after August 31st. That's the last day that they can be removed, so you may want to let people know who have agreements with the DEC for that permits. Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions from Roger? No. Okay, thank you, Roger. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, Crystal.
All right. As Roger said, the beach closed yesterday, the 22nd, all of our lifeguards were back at college, or going back to college for the next day or two. The owner of Logan's Bar and Grill contacted Ed and I regarding an unusually high read for last quarter. They had a consumption of 74,000 gallons when they normally use around, between 15 and 40,000 depending on the time of the year. They also said they've cut out part of their dining area as well, so they haven't been as busy. So they're not really sure what's going on there. Ed read the meter twice in the last 3 weeks, and can't find any indication of a leak. They can't find any indication of leaking faucets or toilets or anything like that. They're still kind of like, it's a mystery and something we're gonna be monitoring, but, the owner did want to, she does believe there's a problem and she did want to ask for forgiveness, so
Has she written a letter?
she, you know, we've had them before.
No, but do you have a copy of that? I haven't seen a copy, that's the only.
Well, she just emailed this afternoon and she literally just asked if, she could.
And she understands it's a one-time,
She understands, we had it and won't talk with her about it.
and Locust has never had a forgiveness
Not that I have
before.
found.
Okay, if she wants to take it. Any comments, Cindy, Rebecca?
Okay, so she wants to use it.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's something
This is
that
really
she
good
wants.
work.
Yeah, she
I
might
can't even find
Yeah, we have told that, and I have told her a couple of times that it is a one-time forgiveness, so if she,
So if it continues into the next quarter, it's on her. Okay. All right, I'd like a motion to offer, one-time forgiveness on the water bill for Logan's. Like to have a motion? Rebecca, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries for a one-time forgiveness, and we hope that, will be resolved.
yeah. On to security cameras, I did put up 2 requests out, for quotes, and have received some information back from 2 of them. I also contacted our computer tech people, asking if they had any recommendations for people that, were companies local. They do work with a vendor that is out of Albany. It's called Intervid Inc. I contacted them, they do travel this far north, so, I'm trying to wait and see if they would be able to give us more information on what, their suggestions are and possibly do a site visit, for that.
Okay, so maybe by next month we'll have some.
Yeah, hopefully. I think, well, and we talked about it like a couple meetings ago, the benefit of having somebody do a site visit because we do have our buildings spread out and, you know, if they can do that, it would be, I think it would be beneficial. And it would be nice working with you.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
I just wanted to touch on the monthly meetings. I feel like they're going pretty well. We've had a few hiccups over the summer as far as scheduling goes, but I feel like as soon as the fall, we get to fall and winter, I don't think it'll be much of an issue anymore.
How do you ladies feel about that?
Yeah.
I think, I personally like them so that we are in touch and that we are connected and that we're not a board who's dealing on one level and not in touch with what's going on another level. And I know that I think that the employees also like to know that the board is interested and is involved and knows what is happening when we come to a board meeting and they have issues.
Yeah, I know that they're a little bit, scheduling wise, it's a little bit tough right now, but, it should settle down and, once we get into a rhythm, and you should have noticed that I set up, meetings for the next whole year until like May, I think it was, and if you just accept it'll pop up in your email, if you accept the invitation, then it just goes right into your Outlook calendar, and, you won't even have to worry about remembering, you can just look in your calendar and say, oh, okay, it's this day, but, yeah, I think it's helpful to have it right before they come. Yeah, to the next meeting. A couple of months is off a little bit by a week, but, I don't know, I think it's good to, yeah.
Right. And Roger forgot to say that today, J.R. Rust started, so he's held a day down at wastewater. And they had to pull again for the light stand loop. and once again had clogged it. Ed seems to think it's unusual because of how high the water level is and how much water is going through, that it's causing us to do a little more, frustrating.
Lastly, the fall training school is currently scheduled for in-person, sessions, from September 20th to the 24th. Jeanette and I are both registered for, the week, but we plan to go Tuesday to Thursday. So those are the, days on the calendar of sessions that we felt were best beneficial, or most beneficial for, the class, so.
Right. All right. So, we've had an opportunity to, review abstract number 6. So may I have a motion to pay the bills listed in abstract number 6? Cindy? Rebecca, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. We've had an opportunity to review financial report number 2. May I have a motion to accept financial report number 2? Say no, Rebecca. Second by Cindy. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. As far as updates, COVID updates, there is an uptick. As far as on Friday, there were 12 cases, 6 of which I believe were in Indian Lake. Earlier in the week, we had 4 or 5 cases here in Lake Pleasant / Speculator, and those are coming to a close because it's a 10-day period. That's all I know about COVID. Fema Updates, we have 3 things pending or on hold. So that is the river crossing, that is the pump station that's tilted, and then the reimbursement for our firemen's time, the volunteer time. So they have not yet gotten back to us on that. So I checked with that today. The Fema COVID update, I have not progressed that. Verizon small cells, some good news. The one is up at Speculator Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and they were working on the one down by the pavilion. However, the inclement weather last week kind of put the kibosh on completing that. They were able to complete SBAC because they had access to the garage, so we certainly thank SBAC for making that available. So soon, we should have that. Fire tower, as I mentioned before, that was submitted to the APA for a further review. That's all should be progressing. And Ryan Marshall and I, as members of the fire tower committee, and Cheryl Festella will be mailing out flyers to ask people if they would like to support that endeavor. So we'll try that. The American Rescue Plan Act funding, big news today, very big news. We're getting $124 more on that funding. What they did was those towns that opted or did not respond to the funding because you had to provide information. Those towns or villages that did not accept that funding or did not apply for that funding, that pool was then divided by the number of people or villages and towns, and the rule increment was added. So we will get $62 this year and $62 next year. That's the big news. And again, Cindy, you are trustee Lindsay. You'll be away in October, correct? So November 7th. So perhaps by maybe the first or second meeting of November, we can start putting together a resolution to do that. Okay. All right. I am going to ask, and you tell me whether yes or no. I would like to put on hold the resolution to move funds into capital funds for a Speculator Volunteer Fire Department in the DPW until we have a full board. Are you agreeing with that, Rebecca?
Sure.
Okay. And then for LoSAP, the plan document for conversion to direct contribution. I would like to hold off on that as well, since there are some changes. The only other point that I received from Gladfelter on the plan document referred to people or firemen who are in the program, they don't make their vesting at 5 years. So let's say they leave at 3 years, they move away, and a number of years later, they move back to the area or their circumstance change, they want to pick up. In the past, what the fire department did is if you didn't make it and you moved away, you went back to square one. So what they say this service program does in other parts of the state is that money is held just in case you come back. So if you did 3 years, you went away and came back, then you would add on to your 4th year, your 5th year, and then you would. Well, that's up to us to decide. So I think that we can make that determination so long as they're on the rolls. So I would think that once a fireman ages to 65, I think if they're not in the area and they're not coming back, I think that you might make an amendment to it so that if you're not vested by the time you're age 65 or you're not currently in the program to be vested, you're not an active firefighter, that maybe we'll remove it. And as part of that investment, it's so $700 for each fireman is put into the fund, and then it accumulates interest. So in this situation, if a person is here for 2 or 3 years, they go away, they come back, they would only be qualified to receive $700 per year, not the interest. So that interest would go into the fund, and that would be the village's money that we would apply it for. So I just wanted to make that clear, and that would be put in an addendum. So that addendum will be available for us. And I've also asked them to provide the copy of the overview, because the copy they had initially said was not correct. So I wanted to make sure everything was correct. This will be a final document with that so that we can approve it, sign it in 2 weeks. And then we can get the forms for those who presently qualify to do that. There's also an issue regarding how things were paid out. So it's according to actuarial tables, how much is going to be paid out. Every single fireman who is qualified to receive a payout has been contacted, has been given the opportunity to speak with the representatives. They have all agreed that they would either take a one-time payment or 2 to 5 times payments of equal value. So the benefit of taking more than one payment is that under New York state law, the award amount would not be subject to New York state tax. So that's about 7%. So if you have said, no, we'll still do one lump sum and the others are broken out. So that was made very clear to our firefighters. So that'll be final for next time.
So the one lump sum, they pay tax, 7%.
They'll have to all pay federal tax, and they'll have to pay state tax if they did one. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Roundtable DEC meeting for bikes. They are getting together with representatives from Oak Mountain to see how they can tie in. They're meeting with DEC, Lime, and Oak to see how those trails can be tied in. I've asked them about the cross-country and snowshoe trails, how that can also tie in. I think they are making efforts to preserve the areas that are planned to be developed. So, and we will be working with volunteers within the village, within the town, within the area, bikers who want to help with that, cross-country bikers who want to help with that. So I think they have a better plan going forward. I'm not sure if you're all aware, we had one at Bristol Brook, which is just up Route 30, so it kind of is adjacent to the mountain, west of the mountain, and east of Route 30. And unfortunately, the trail was made where they drag their skids to bring walks out. And so after about 4 or 5 years, it was not exactly well maintained. That was the quote. And when they went to log in that area, even though the trails were marked, they had to drag it out on the skid roads. So that's why Lime Timber person will come and say, okay, this is a safe area to go. Because there are certain areas of their property under this recreational easement that are very, very lightly managed. Maybe it's a bad crop of trees or an undesirable crop of trees, or it's a little more wet that they would be able to deal with. So that's going forward. And then the other thing is from ANCA, I received information regarding rebates for LED lights. So not the street lights, we're still waiting to hear from my favorite National Grid man, Mr. Cologne. But these LED lights in the Village Hall, in the pavilion, down at the wastewater treatment plant, and those that we've ordered for the garage, we should all be able to get some level of rebate to that. So I'm going to put my glasses on and my little calculator and see if we can't fill that out and get some money back. And then I will try and get the anchor woman, Nancy Bernstein, the circuit wire, energy circuit wire, to be here the last meeting of September and go through fast to see what we can do as far as solar. That would not make us dependent on solar, but would give us rebates and decrease our energy costs and make it more efficient for the village to have energy. In our bill, on our bill, is correct. And then there's a way to tie in for our general electricity into a solar tree farm as well. So there's one in Tug Hill, there's another one in the Adirondack area. That it doesn't have to be direct, but I don't know, through the magic of wonder and science, it happens. So she's going to explain that to us as well. All right, anything else?
We had a DPW meeting, we're talking about the new piece of equipment for the sidewalk.
Yes, yes,
And we're trying to remember, we made the decision to have payments over time.
yes.
If that was because we didn't know about CHIPS money. And there was a question, if there was CHIPS money now, should we keep paying $1,000 in interest, you know, or use or?
Is it $1,000? Is it $1,000?
It's
Dollars
between, I think it's between 1 and 3, depending on the year.
1,000? Then, yes, if we can pay the whole thing off in chips, I think that would be a good thing to do. Would you be able to talk with Roger based on?
I have to contact the church.
Okay.
Because right now it's under a lease, like, it's in as a lease.
So we have to see whether we can modify our lease. Yeah. If we can modify the lease and if we can early pay out. Correct. It'd be an early payout, and do we have monies in capital funds to be able to do that for the
Or we don't have money.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet, but it's coming. Yeah. So.
But if CHIPS will cover it, then we don't even.
Correct. Terrific, very good point to make. Anything else? Anything from the public, Shorty?
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes. Who's that on the phone?
The Gary Reinhardt on Declan Radio, or I guess just Gary Reinhardt as a citizen.
Okay.
This is not really much of a comment, as much as I would just like to ask if I could talk to Mayor Barnett after the meeting about something.
Okay, it's Barrett, and that will be fine.
Thank you.
Yes, so there is a leak on Elmlake Road in front of Trustee Rumsey's house. The extreme challenge with that is that there is a telephone pole, electrical wires, fiber wires, and telephone wires all in this immediate area where the junction, where the connections are. So it is unsafe to dig without immobilizing or stabilizing the telephone pole, which can only be done by National Grid. So we have been contacting National Grid since last week. They had thought that they could come this week, but with the hurricane, every single person from here has been shifted out. So at the very latest, it will be next week that they should be able to come. They are hand digging to determine exactly where all those connections are. It seems that there's enough clay in your fiber line, hopefully the other lines, that those could be lifted up and out and be able to dig. So Yes, that is well aware, and until it's a major gusher, we have to do it safely.
Yeah.
You would know, yeah, but that is the process there, yeah. Okay,
Another question about the bike trails.
yes,
You talked about kind of west of the mountain or whatever.
that was Bristol Road.
Okay.
They're talking about Perkins Clearing and the tree farm. Yes. Tree farm down on Elm Lake Road, Perkins Clearing up off 30. So those are the two.
Is that the same spot we were talking about with the snowmobile earlier?
No, skid, yeah, and that's where the skid trails are, and the skid trails are for the lumber company. Right, and there is a snowmobile trail that goes back by Bristol Brook that is not affected. But if you are to walk back there, walk or bike, but it's impassable. It really is impassable. It was difficult enough on ATVs.
And then I did hear.
Oh, and I'm sorry, there's gotta be a recreational management plan approved. So we've been asking for that for years, and in years, I'm talking about 8 or 9 years. We had thought that there was gonna be progress over COVID. I was wrong, too optimistic. So they are finalizing it. It has to go to the state, it has to go to the APA of the DEC, Region 5. So it's gotta go to the APA, it's gotta be reviewed by higher ups in DEC, and it has to be reviewed by the state. They're hoping maybe it would be finished sometime in the next quarter, or at least by end of year. Then it's open to public comment. And so fingers are crossed for the spring, so therefore there's no real action that can be taken prior to.
Okay, and then I did hear from a couple that recently bought electric bikes and they were going down Elm Lake Road, kind of up and around. They did like 17 miles.
Terrific.
So, and they found it to be very passable and.
Great. Good. So we're trying to work with Line is very in favor and very sensitive to our snowmobiling and our bike trails and things like that, for the economic development of the village and the town. So I was very pleased to hear that. And they were both avid bikers. The two representatives were avid bikers as well, and have given us some suggestions of other bike areas, off-road, gravel bike areas. Is there a place I don't have it written down, so it's either Vermont or New Hampshire called Kingdom Trail, or that commenting on this as well. But some opportunities where there were a pretty large network of trails for a variety of levels of bike riding, variety of levels of family types of activities, and the way they managed their bikes was an annual fee. So you pay a certain amount of money and you ride all the time. They had bike patrols, all those other sorts of things. So there's an opportunity for more volunteers. Okay, so would someone like to make a motion to?
Public comment, what's his name, Gary brought it in, but on the solar power stuff.
Yes.
A few years back, the town was presented with a solar project and stuff like that, and it really sounded good in the beginning. And then you find out that they'll come in, they'll put in all the panels and do all the work and everything else, and you sit back and you reap the benefits and all that other stuff. And this is what the one guy tells you. And then the other guy, that's the one that really in charge of the whole thing, he comes in and he tells you a little different stories. So any of those solar projects and stuff like that, you want to really look for the dotted I's and crossed T's, because they said they would do all that. No
any project will be thoroughly researched, and I also have some connections, as I'm sure other people do, in the solar industry.
Yeah, when they say they're going to come in and do all this and they enforce anything, the town found out that you know, once you're in it, if you don't like it, you can opt out.
Right.
But then you got the solar farm sitting there, and the agreement
Well,
is.
the solar farm is not
No,
for
I mean,
us in particular.
no, but I mean, someone did propose that, but the town found out that they would have been, in the agreement, they would have to leave that solar farm there for the company that installed it to get their money back out of it, so.
Trust me, Shorty,
Yeah.
any and all agreements are read thoroughly in advance and flagged with any issues, and our lawyer also reads them, so. I wanna make that very clear that we take that extremely seriously because there is a lot written in this
I
finding.
think we found out with these LED lights that by waiting, even though everybody waited on National Grid for installing, then you wind up in a little better position than if you went with that other. You don't have the investment, the save money investment.
Yep, nope,
Great job.
yep, thank you, thank you. All right, now I'd like a motion to end the meeting. Cindy? All in favor? Ending at 7:37. All right, thank you. Mr. Reinhardt, would you like to call me on my cell phone?
I don't think I have your cell phone number, but if I don't know if you'd be up for that, but if you could email it to me, or I guess I could email you.
Or if you're fine to speak to me in this, with people in the office.
Yeah, it's not. Actually, hold on, I got